Hello, everyone. So good to be here today. It's a wonderful day. And I said that with a little bit of a pause because I have a lot going on. That's a good thing. And sometimes I can start to feel a bit overwhelmed with all the things on my plate. And I'm going, oh my gosh, let me just try to catch up here and catch my breath. But it's all good. I'm happy to be here to share this topic today about um, basically going from panic to planning and 3 ways that you can do that. There's been a lot that I've seen on LinkedIn and other platforms, but I'm primarily on LinkedIn, especially for my business. And a lot of our sisters and a lot of people are experiencing instability financially, whether that's as a business owner, not having as much revenue coming in, loss of contracts, things slowing down this time of year, and throughout the whole year too. And then also a large portion of women who have been let go from their jobs. And unemployment is at an extremely high level, the highest it's been, I think, since more than during the pandemic, right? Whew, and that is a lot, you know. Money is one of those things, and when it's not coming in, and when there's all this stress and a lot of things happening in the world, it's like this just compounds, when there's not that financial relief like there was before. So today's topic is for anyone who has experienced a change of income. It could be a complete loss, it could be a reduced amount, it could be some sort of a life transition where things have caused some uncertainty and, like I said, some instability, and you're trying to get your footing. And you're noticing that there's a lot of fear coming up, and you may be more stressed and feeling overwhelmed, and your fuse is shorter, or maybe tired, or you may be more emotional. Add in the hormones, yay! And if you got teenage kids around that time too, yay! Let's just throw it all together. Plus, it's the holiday season, and that in itself can be an activating event for many people who are experiencing more intense feelings of loneliness or isolation, or not having community, or things like that, different family dynamics. There's so much. We are going through a lot. Can we go back to the 90s? I'm saying that because I was a teenager in the 90s and it was amazing. I'm sure my parents were dealing with a lot of stuff. They were, but times were different. Okay, so, and why I want to talk about this is because one of the first things I want to talk about, though, is why this is important. Because when there is so much happening and you're the woman who has been doing everything on your own, and you're the leader in your family, and you tend to be on top of things, and you've lost your footing, and you're not sure what's going to happen next, and there can be specific things that activate us, creating this sense of anxiety and panic. For me, it's an experience of feeling like I'm going to lose everything and the rug's being pulled from under me. And I'm just in this state of, feeling just overwhelmed. I feel it in my stomach. I feel it in my chest. I talk to people, it's in my throat. That's what my physical experience. And that's what it feels like for me when I wasn't aware that that was happening, and when I've come a long way since then. So when there is this occurring, and if this is happening to you now, one of the main things to do is to get very micro, because we can't do it all. We really can't do it all. And I know it's like, got to get out there, got to do all these things and everything, because it is true, to get more business, to land a job, to do the interviews, and to put yourself out there. And at the same time, there's a lot involved with that. And then when it comes financially, it can also feel like we have to do everything because we're behind. And if you're able to first just be able to focus on that one part of your financial life or your life, not even financially, just your life. Like, what is the thing that causes you the most amount of anxiety, the most amount of feeling like everything's falling apart? For some, it may be feeling like maybe they're going to run out of food. And this could be at any income level, okay? Or maybe somebody experienced at some point in their life where they didn't have enough to eat or to go to school. So that feeling of hunger, has led them to now in their life as an adult, which is, I got to keep my pantry full. I got to see that my refrigerator is full, because I got to make sure that that's something I never experience again. So if that is one area of your life that is something that you want to make sure that you have that there, the ability to. So, like for example, if that's where you're at and you have a loss of income and you're having to maybe cut back on the amount that you have for spending on groceries, or maybe you're needing to receive some additional support for those that are completely out of income, then what ways can you set up your environment at home so that you know that you're going to have a certain amount and you'll feel okay, right? Certain staple items in the home, right? Or maybe it's the one part of your life is needing immediate attention is making sure that you have housing, making sure that your rent, your mortgage is paid. That's the biggest priority for you, because that feeling of like, oh my gosh, if I can't even do that, I'm going to be a mess. I have a good friend of mine. She grew up unhoused, and she has told me time and again that if she has less than a certain amount in her bank account, I think for her it's like 10,000, that she goes into complete tailspin, even when she is working and has money coming in. So for her, that's because she didn't have ability growing up, and they were all over the place and she was unhoused, like I said. So for her, that housing stability is so important. So if that's what it is, then be aware for you that it's that housing is the most important thing for you, because and it is important overall. It's a basic need, right? But for some, even when they, like my friend, like the example I'm giving, even though she's employed and she has money coming in, that is constantly on the back of her mind of making sure she has a certain amount of money available, because she doesn't ever want to find herself in that position of not wondering where she'd be able to make her payments for rent. If it's providing for your kids, right? You know, making sure that they're able to stay in their sports, their education, if that's the part that needs immediate stability for you so that you can be able to go through this time of your time period with as much, I guess, ease as possible, then perhaps that's the thing. Okay, so if it comes to their sports, you know, if there's any arrangements that can be made with wherever they're playing their sports to maybe offset some of the costs or give you a longer time period to make those payments if you're paying every month for their membership, and just having those conversations, just reaching out and just seeing, you know, if it's possible, because that's an area that you're like, I got to make sure that my kids are taken care of in this way. Or maybe it's helping family financially. You know, there's a lot of women out there that they're the ones in their family that are helping their loved ones financially, and they've been depended on. And maybe that's something that's so important. Like, I got to be able to maintain that. If that's the case, and okay, what is possible for that to continue to occur? If it means, you know, maybe picking up a little bit of side job, something you'd never do in a million years, you never thought, just to be able to help so you can maintain that, because being able to do that is something that would keep you up at night. And another one maybe is also that sense of connection, staying in touch with community, your friends. You know, is that the one thing that is like, oh my gosh, you know, I need to be able to have that, because if I don't have that contact with my friends or my community or my family, then that completely puts me into a place of feeling isolated, overwhelmed, and I feel all alone, and then things get really dark. So these are the kind of things to consider on what are the areas that for you need to have that stability for yourself, for, you know, I'm not telling you you need to. I want you to be able to consider for yourself, what it is it that I need that needs to be the most stable out of everything that is happening. There's instability everywhere, right? So it's identifying that one, if so it's two, fine too, but what are the main things for you so you can just focus on that? Because all the things, we can't do it all. That's my point, right? Like, we can't, when there's instability, when there's a loss of income, right? There's so many things that are up in the air. So what are the top ones for you to be able to focus on to bring you some sort of ease? And the second thing is, when it comes to those things, okay, now, so what's interesting is when there is this, you know, financial anxiety that is happening, right? There can be behaviors that we do in a way to soothe ourselves, or a way to try and calm our nerves to get through, to get by. So for me, I'm going to use myself as an example. Me, it's when I was really having a lot of financial anxiety, my behaviors in the past would be that I would spend money that I knew that I probably shouldn't be spending, but I would spend it because, gosh, I just needed I just needed some relief. I just wanted to feel really good. I was at the store. That was really cute. I was at TJ Maxx. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, I'll get 2 of those. Oh, I need that painting in my home. Why? Because it's important for me to have color and my home to be a place of where I'm love being, especially now that money is not really coming in. I want to enjoy my home. So buying something like that, and please understand, you know, if that's the case and that's something you do, there's no, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's like a reaction because you're wanting to feel better. So it's a matter of just having that awareness of what that is. Okay. If you tend to be somebody that does that, have, you know, notice what that is. And if that's something like, okay, maybe I can try to reel that in a little bit so that the next time, maybe every other time I go to the store, I'll spend something if possible, if that's the case, and remind myself that I already did the last time and this is a thing that I got. I'm just giving some examples, right? Okay, so another one, maybe if you're somebody, where it comes to the food, right? And I'm saying the food one because I have a family member. Oh my gosh, her refrigerator is always packed, like just packed. And the kitchen is always packed of food. And it's just one person. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, that's because she grew up and they didn't have a lot of food, they just did not have a lot of food. And so for her, she's always got to have some food available. And it may go bad and she may end up wasting it. But the fact that she has food there is more important to her than how bad she feels if the food goes to waste. So if you're one of those individuals, then if possible, what can you do to ensure that for yourself? So does that mean giving up if you tend to want to go out to eat, right? A lot, like you spend money going to eat. Does that mean pulling that back so you can make sure that you have a pantry full of food, and consider it as a way of providing yourself self-care? Because if it's that keeping that food there, this is the one thing that I can have control over, which is maybe saying no. Yes, hanging out with my friends and everything is super important. I want to do that. That having that community is important. And it's also completely activating for me if I'm feeling like I have to not be able to spend as much when I buy groceries. You see what I'm saying here? So it's like switching it out and having the ability to approach this as a way of self-care, right? How can I reduce the amount of activation that I feel within my body and my spirit? And finding creative ways to be able to do that, and having an understanding that this is why it's happening. Okay, so maybe like, another area is, you feel like you may lose some connection. You may lose friends. You're worried that, you may lose some sense of community. And that is something that activates you. Well, that would be maybe being proactive, finding a way to let somebody who really cares about you, like, hey, I need for you to check in on me. I once a week, or on Sundays or something. Just please reach out to me if you haven't heard anything. Like, I just really need this from you. Saying things ahead of time so that they know, and this is someone you can count on, and they'll reach out to you, because that is something that will feed you. Because if you're getting pulled away and you're feeling isolated and you're not in community, that's something where it may activate you in that way. So these are some of the ways that I'm inviting you to consider on how to get through this phase of life, this season. I won't say phase, it's a season, right? It's a season of life that you're in. And when you start to do this, you're going to begin to tap into the third way, which is moving from panic. No longer moving away from panic. I just stumbled over my words. I'm having a little issue talking today too as well. But we have days like that. Okay, so paying attention, and you're starting to notice your inner wisdom, when you're doing these things, because you're raising your awareness with the things and also internally. So when you're doing that, right, just notice what's coming up for you. And one of the things that is so helpful is asking yourself the question, what is the best thing that can happen out of this situation? Like, just what is the best thing? It could be anything. It could be the best thing that happens out of the situation is I'm going to, be able to really find ways to soothe myself in ways that are more helpful. The best thing out of the situation is I'm gonna, I could land this job in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know, right? But whatever it is, finding and listening to what comes up for you and doing that every now and then for any time that you're feeling completely like freaking out. And it doesn't have to be in that moment. Kind of hard, right during the freak out moment, because you got to be able to bring yourself down to tune into that. So when you are in that moment of that complete overwhelm and just panic and fear, working with yourself to calm your nerves, and then later on coming back to it and asking that question and writing it down. Or if you're somebody that prays or meditates, doing that as well. So what you're doing is you're taking action, right? You're becoming aware of what it is and getting micro with it, then taking action with that ahead of time and knowing, and then practicing. That's the other part. This is all just practice. There's no, please, 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 if you can, be able to give up that I have to be perfect. And when it comes to this, there's a lot of, when there's a loss of income or job, and whether it's something that we chose or happened to us, there can be a lot of shame that comes up from that. And there's financial shame that also stems from everything because of what's happening financially. And there's a natural inclination of, I'm bad, I got to do things perfect. And what that does is it continues to create this loop that you may find yourself on. The shame, the embarrassment, the perfection, it's just this ongoing loop when we can just kind of be, not kind of be, just be, and allow yourself to not have this, I have to do this right and be perfect. And, I go through this every day. I come up with, I'm gonna give this example of, I come up with, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to get all these tasks done, and this is what I'm going to do. And the next thing you know, I didn't get, 2 of them done. Old me would be like, I'm going to sit here and make sure I get this done right now. I have to get it done because I want it to be perfect. But that comes from a place of force. And that force doesn't work. It comes with inner power. And our inner power comes from loving and accepting ourselves just as we are. We're imperfect human beings. And we can just show up and do the best that we can. And as my dear friend and mentor, Sandra Davis, has said to me years ago, that never left me, I don't remember what, I don't know when she said this, she said, just do your best and let go of the rest. Just do your best, sis, and practice. Rinse and repeat. And so just hopefully there's some tips here, some things that you're able to consider and walk away with that are helpful to you. Excuse me, I'm ready to cough. I do have Prosperity Exchange, which is every Friday at 12:00 p.m. Pacific. And I would love to see you there if you want to be able to have a space where we have these kind of conversations where, it's a wonderful space where we meet with our sisters, and I facilitate a conversation around topics like this, around managing emotions with money, and being able to identify different things that we can do to move ourselves forward and to walk in prosperity, and to that's our birthright. Okay, we're worthy and deserving of experiencing all this good and more. So join if you can. Go to my events page here on LinkedIn and you can sign up, and I will see you tomorrow. I'll be back next week with another LinkedIn Live, and I just want to send you some love Okay. And if you want, please do send me a message here on LinkedIn. I will respond for sure. Would love to hear from you. And let's just do all of this together. I'm here for you, sending you a lot of love, like I said, and I will see you soon.